This segment is brought to you by Gin Gators. We sink our teeth into service.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker with Terraborn Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it very, very much. And we are very pleased to have with us State Senator Mike Fesi. Mike, thanks for joining us today.
I'm glad to be here.
We appreciate that. Again, District 20, our representative, and we're so very glad, our senator that is, so very glad that you represent us. But I got to tell you, there's a lot of things that don't get done without a fight. And you go and fight for us. One of those things is this program that we have. HTV is really looking forward to doing a program. We kind of presented this idea. We want to do Louisiana and beyond. It's going to be a TV show that was going to cover what's really happening with the coast, all the way from Lake Charles to St. Bernard. And you were the champion behind making this happen.
And that's what's so important, you know, because we go to get money to do things like, especially like saving our coast. But if the people doesn't see exactly the production of what happens with bringing that money to our coast and what we're doing, and I just thought it was a great idea when y'all came to me that to get some money to do this, to do a documentary exactly what's happening on our coast and how we're saving our coast. And I think the whole world will look at this.
Yeah, and so it's one of those things where people talk about how to save the coast. What do you do? This is going to be able to find a way to, like you said, let people know what's really happening. And quite frankly, I think that's the best use of money sometimes, is just to let people know this is what's really happening and this is what we need to do about it.
Yeah, and just like I always, you know, one of the biggest things I bring up is Port Fourchon's in my district.
Right.
Port Fourchon brings $500 million a day to our U.S. GDP. So we have to save our coast from, you know, the total coast, because we have, you know, I always said we were a heartbeat of America because so much comes through Louisiana to feed the rest of the country. And it's that important.
And again, much like this is going to do, I think, in sharing that information with the public, when I found out $500 million a day from Port Fourchon and the impact that it has internationally, like, that's a big deal.
It's such a big deal, is that whatever we spend down here to save our coast is minimal to what we are creating for the whole country. And I push that constantly. Our engineering stuff that we've done, all of our inventions we have done for the oil and gas industry here in our area is so important worldwide.
That's exactly right. We see it every day in the impact, right? So sometimes we have to look past what that initial cost is for what the value we get out of that.
And my biggest thing is, you know, here we are, got legacy lawsuits suing our oil companies that were here for many years, but all the landowners and everybody collected many royalties and many dollars that came through, and I can't blame them for just what happened to our coast. When they levied the Mississippi River off, it stopped all the fresh water going down our bayous, and every canal they dug would have probably been filled with silt if the river was still flowing in the direction it should be.
Right. That's exactly right. And so there's reasons for those things. And so we have to kind of work around that. I kind of want to start, and we have only a little time in this segment, but how things went for this last session and what your experience was.
I think we did pretty good. We passed a number of bills to cut insurance costs. You know, it was reforming the legal reform and insurance cost. That's, you know, Louisiana has one of the highest soft tissue claims in auto accidents countrywide. You know, and we're here a small population, but we're the highest number on soft tissue claims. So those are the kind of things we have to concentrate on to try to figure out how do we slow that down.
Yeah, and I love the fact that this focus was on really bringing some cost savings to the constituents here in Louisiana?
Well, it's so important. I mean, it got to where you can't afford your homeowner's insurance, and so it's so important. Guess what? Port Fourchon and all industry don't exist if nobody lives here.
Yeah, they can't if we can't afford to live here.
That's correct. So we got to get the cost right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of issues that's happened over the years that the policies were not quite what they should have been, and all the bills that we've passed, the governor signed 3 so far, and hopefully signs a bunch more. Okay. That it'll help out between car insurance and homeowners.
Yeah, and again, that focus on making sure that we've got better options, making Louisiana a place where people want to come to write policies to give us those options, especially some cheaper options.
Right. Well, and the thing is I think there's 10, my last number was 10 companies have applied to do business again in Louisiana, and 3 have been approved. So make sure if your homeowners is coming up, we can, I'd put those names out on my website, but you can look it up with, find it with the state that there's 3 new companies that's writing business, and I'm hearing they're cutting the premiums.
Yeah, and again, that's people are asking, and you're delivering, right? Right now, legislatively, we're delivering. And, people love to find negative ways or negative things to talk about, but this is something people have been complaining about. We've made some policy changes. We've got people coming in, and we've got policy options that are going down.
Correct.
And so whatever that may be. Senator, we appreciate what you do, and I want to dive into a whole lot more. We're going to have to take a short break to be able to do that. Always so much to talk about when you come back from one of these sessions. And so we're thankful that you're here. We appreciate you being here and appreciate all that you're doing. We'll talk a lot more about that when we come back, okay?
Good deal.
All right, Senator Mike Fesi is going to stay with us. You do the same. We'll be right back right here on Bayou Time.
This segment was brought to you by Gin Gators. We sink our teeth into service.
Hello and welcome back to this edition of Bayou Time. Again, your host, Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us, however you may be joining us, and very glad to have back with us Senator Mike Fesi. Thanks for being here.
Glad to be here.
All right. We were talking a little bit about all of those things that you've been working on. Tell us about some of the bills, if you don't mind, and maybe some of those that you got passed.
Well, one of them was, it was SB 94, was our Wetlands Act, I called it. They had a case that went all the way up to the Supreme Court called the Sackett case, which the Supreme Court finally came out and said, look, y'all can't, the environmentalists can't keep going out and claim everything's wetlands. So what they did is they put a pretty much a good statute on what's a wetland and what's not. Oh. So I wanted to jump on board right away in Louisiana, since that's something we fight all the time.
Yeah.
And between our levee boards in Terrebonne and Lafourche Parish, they've worked real close to me putting this bill together.
Okay.
And we got it through. The governor signed it. And so now we have a wetlands bill that put more precision on what is a wetland and what's not. So our levee boards have spent millions of dollars on mitigation costs that was just totally unnecessary. And hopefully this will save that. And then also for anybody coming into our area wanting to do any kind of construction, it'll give some relief to what's a wetland and what's not, because so much of it is really not wetlands.
Yeah. And so, again, getting clear definitions, right?
Correct.
And making sure that people aren't kind of abusing, or because sometimes people want to be able to say, oh, well, we can't do this because it's a wetland, or we need monies for this because it is. Let's have a good delineation about what
Correct.
that is.
And so what it basically says is it goes towards tidal flow, river flow. And one of the things I fought tough on this thing is the name of in the title on the information for the bill, it had Waterways Act. And so I had everybody coming to and hollering, oh, well, I can't fish here no more. And so I had to put an amendment on the bill that strictly said this has nothing to do with private or public waterways or bottoms.
Or access, right? Right. It doesn't say what you can or can't do.
It has nothing to do with that. Everybody can still fish in the same spot they've been fishing in, and
right.
No headaches.
Right.
This is strictly to help construction of new areas and also help our levee boards save money.
Yeah. Speaking of new areas and speaking of construction, let's talk a little bit about this state park and what happened with it.
Okay, Shell had donated a little over 4,000 acres to Terrebonne Parish years back, and the first thing I started thinking of is, man, that would be a great state park. So I've been working on this for quite a few years, and finally got it to where we could put it together, and the governor signed that a few days ago, and now we're going to have a new state park in Terrebonne Parish called Whiskey Bayou State Park.
And look, what a great name, by the way, because Whiskey Bayou itself is right near there. It runs through there.
Right.
And Whiskey Bayou it's got some relevance to Terrebonne Parish. It's historical in Terrebonne Parish. And now we get a state park.
That's it. And we're looking for any investors that want to do any public-private partnerships as far as building little cabins, putting in a campground or whatever it may be. The lieutenant governor has done great jobs with our other state parks by putting these public-private partnerships together. And mostly all our other state parks the state does not have to fund them because those public-private partnerships are making it work.
And they maintain themselves, and they're beautiful. And so Billy Nungesser has done a great job with that. So we're very thankful for that. We want to bring that to us.
That's correct. I've been excited about this, been working on it for a few years, and we've got it through.
Wow. And I love it because it's right around the corner from my house, I got to tell you. And so it's just exciting. I really want to be able to, I would love for that idea to have cabins and have this beautiful area of a state park that's going to be maintained as such, and have campgrounds and have people that want to come down here, and what the difference that does to our economy.
And we're going to make it a multi-purpose. Right now, they've set in pumps to keep everybody from flooding and pump the water into a retention.
Right.
And what I want to do is make a nice lake in there so you can have kayaking and have some boardwalks all through the marsh. Shell has already implemented to me that they would like to make a butterfly sanctuary, have some others talking about a duck sanctuary. And so it's going to be really nice.
Yeah, so Ducks Unlimited, some of those people, right, talking about those partnerships that we're so very glad to have and what they've done. And so very exciting. And so overall, it seems like there was a great deal of positivity that came out of this session.
Oh, yeah, because we passed other bills, important bills, and you know, I just think that the state's on the right track. We have a great economic development going on. I mean, we got billions of dollars coming into the state of Louisiana for economic development.
Right. And again, we're looking at how to best use those funds, how to be really smart about that. And if we learned anything from what we've learned here recently with the passing of former Sheriff Jerry Larpenter, it's okay to be tight with your money, especially when you're using the people's money and what they're getting for it.
That's correct. And it's such a sorrow to hear when I walked into the studio that y'all told me that Jerry had passed away, because we were close over the years.
Yeah, and just again, a great guy, a great leader, much like yourself, always focused on passion and compassion for people and getting them what they need and fighting for that. And so, Senator, we appreciate it, and we honor Sheriff Jerry Larpenter and what he's done for the community, and again, condolences to his family.
Yeah, he was very dedicated to the community.
Yeah, and we appreciate that. And so thank you for joining us today. We appreciate it. A little bit of a sad note, but some good news coming out of this session as we move forward.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that'll do it for this particular segment, but don't go anywhere. I got a whole lot more right here on Bayou Time.
This segment was brought to you by Cypress Stop, home of the happy customer.